one of five, that forms early in life. Usually when a child feels they must perform or be perfect in order to receive love or avoid rejection. And over time, the child learns that the best way to stay safe is to do everything right, follow the rules, and stay in control. How many of you out there have or were raised in households which were very rules governed? Everything was a certain way. You had certain rules that your parents enforced, and if you steered outside of those, you were in trouble. Well, the rigid pattern, it isn't inherently bad, right?
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Do you ever find yourself obsessively planning over every detail, worrying about how other people will respond, scanning for all the things that could go wrong just to feel safe? That's not just overthinking, that might be your rigid pattern, a part of you trying desperately to protect you from the unknown. And today we're going to meet it, understand it, and find a better way. Welcome to the 1000 Day Sober Podcast. My name is Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life, baby, helping other people do the same, like right now. I have just woken up, feeling a little bit groggy, but I'm here, ever present, alcohol free as fuck for everybody out there in the world. Today is a beautiful day here in Riga, Latvia, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are. Today we're going to talk about a workshop in the Strive Method, our 6-month flagship program that helps you to become alcohol free as fuck and live a self-led life. And in this workshop, we are going to talk about something that's quite personal to me. Okay, so as I said just a moment ago, I am in Riga, Latvia, and that is not my usual groove. As you know, my usual groove is Cardiff in the UK. And that shift in environment, well, it has activated one of the biggest patterns that I carry inside me. It is what Stephen Kessler calls the rigid pattern. And the rigid pattern comes from a Stephen Kessler book called The 5 Personality Patterns. And it is a book, and it is a thesis, if you like, a framework that we were taught when I did my master life coaching in the Elementum Coaching Institute. Now, this part of me, this rigid pattern, it thrives on structure. It thrives on familiarity, a sense of control. It wants to do things, but it wants to do things right. And when the environment changes, when the day doesn't follow a familiar rhythm, this part of me, it freaks out a little bit. Suddenly, I'm no longer present. I am actually projecting, and I'm projecting mainly into the future. And the thoughts that go through my head are, what if this meeting doesn't go well? What if I mess up? What if these people reject me? I don't know what I'm doing later. How is this going to turn out? Basically, I am in my head, right? I am building imaginary futures, and I'm frantically trying to make a plan to avoid pain and to avoid suffering. And it's not until you're aware of it that you realize how exhausting it really is mentally, physically, and spiritually. But what is the rigid pattern? Like I said, the rigid pattern is one of the 5 core personality adaptations described by Stephen Kessler in the 5 personality patterns. It is a pattern, or one of 5, that forms early in life. Usually when a child feels they must perform or be perfect in order to receive love or avoid rejection. And over time, the child learns that the best way to stay safe is to do everything right, follow the rules, and stay in control. How many of you out there have or were raised in households which were very rules governed? Everything was a certain way. You had certain rules that your parents enforced, and if you steered outside of those, you were in trouble. Well, the rigid pattern, it isn't inherently bad, right? Like all things inside of us, it's not bad. As Dr. Richard Schwartz says in Internal Family Systems, there are no bad parts. It often creates high achievers, I put myself in that bracket, great organizers, and people that you can rely on. But it does come at a cost, because when life does become unpredictable, this part loses its footing. It loses its center. It loses its self. And with it, a sense of safety. In extreme cases, it can lead to obsessive planning, disconnection from your body, or a constant fear of failure. You might feel like life is like one big, long tightrope walk. And if you fall, there is nobody that is going to catch you. And if you don't have the tools to ground yourself, to get present, the rigid pattern might hand the reins to your firefighter part. And this is the part of you that is responsible for putting out emergency fires. And the firefighter part, if you're on this podcast, usually will say, this is too much. I cannot cope. Let's have a drink of alcohol to shut all this down. And that is how alcohol, and we become alcohol reliant. It's how alcohol becomes a coping mechanism, not to have fun, but to escape the unbearable pressure of uncertainty. Now, we're going to have a short break, but before we do, I want you to pause the recording and reflect on these questions. Where in your life are you clinging to control because you're scared of the unknown? And what would it feel like to not know and be okay with it? Sit with those reflections while we take a little break. Welcome back to the 1000 Days Sober podcast and our deep dive into the rigid pattern, something that we teach in the Strive method. Now, let's be real. The antidote to the rigid pattern, it isn't a yoga mat and some deep breathing, although they help. The real shift comes from understanding, and that is starting right now. At Strive, we use internal family systems to see this part of you, this rigid pattern, and that it isn't you. It is a part of you, a well-meaning protector formed in childhood, a voice that said, I am perfect, so I will be safe. And maybe that belief kept you afloat. Maybe it got you good grades. Maybe it earned you praise, either from your parents, teachers, or your peers in the school playground. And maybe it avoided punishment. But I'm here to tell you, you're not that child anymore. You don't need to earn your worth. So how do we work with this part? First, awareness. You can't change what you're not conscious of. And that starts by asking yourself, am I in the rigid pattern right now? If you are scanning for danger, if you're obsessing over how things might go wrong, if you're tensing up at the thought of making a mistake, if you're thinking into the future and realize you don't have a roadmap about how this day is going to go and you're freaking out, you're probably in the rigid pattern. That, ladies and gentlemen, is awareness. Secondly, shift or stay. If it's serving you, if the rigid pattern is serving you, and remember, it does have gifts like discipline, integrity, responsibility, drive. If it is serving you, honor those and let them shine. If it's running wild, if it's paralyzing you, if it's feeding your perfectionism or driving you towards drinking alcohol to escape the pressure, then you need to shift by grounding, by breathing, by maybe getting the yoga mat out, by saying, thank you, I see you. But I don't need you to run the show today. I've got this. Third, deeper healing. This is where coaching comes in, working with someone who can help you trace the origins of this pattern. Whose approval did you need? What mistakes did you make that told you never to do this again? We don't unravel these patterns through willpower. We do it through curiosity and compassion. And finally, love. These parts don't need punishment. They need presence. So when your rigid pattern is freaking the fuck out, imagining worst case scenarios, just place a hand on your heart and whisper, I've got us. We are safe now. And that's how you become self-led. And that is how you reclaim your life from the liquid lie. Today's daily vow. Today I will not drink. Not because I've got it all figured out, but because I don't need to. Today, I will stop chasing certainty and I will start embracing the present. I'll breathe, I'll listen, I'll trust. I'm not panic, I am presence. You don't drink alcohol because you're weak. You drink because a part of you is terrified of what might happen next. So today, don't silence it with alcohol, soften it with awareness. A few reflections for you to think about today as you go about your day. Do you see this rigid pattern in yourself? What kind of situations trigger it? How does it feel in your body when it's active? And what is one grounding practice that can help you come back to self? That's all I have time for you today, which is good because my mouth is running out. I feel really dehydrated. Gonna go and get myself a drink. Sun is shining outside. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, today, be present. You might not know what's going to happen in the future. You do not know what's going to happen. Just lean into that. This is vulnerability. Week 2 of the stuck phase of the Strive method. Vulnerability. Let's be vulnerable and just go, I don't know what's going to happen today, and I'm okay with that. I do not need to drink as a result of that, right? That's really, really important. You have to experience this pain. You have to experience this suffering in order to heal. If you like this show, please rate and review it. 5 stars would be lovely jubbly. Send it to somebody who needs it. And if you want to learn more about the rigid pattern or Stephen Kessler's 4 other personality patterns and what it means and how it relates to Liquid Lie, then join the Strive Method. Get over to www.thestrivemethod.com, join our waiting list, and we'll let you know when you can get into the groove on that one, as Madonna used to say. Until tomorrow, much love and strive on, everybody. Take care of yourself.